Hello my sweet friends, welcome back. Today we are here with another 24-hour readathon. I'm so excited. I love filming these and it seems like you guys like watching them, so I'm back with another one. I've done a few at this point, so I'll leave my playlist link down below of all the 24-hour readathons that I filmed. I feel like everyone does 24-hour readathons a little bit differently and I tend to do two different methods. I either block 2 days out of my calendar and just read for 2 days straight, so like 12 hours on one day, 12 hours the next day, or I use the timer method where I start a 24-hour timer and then I pause it every time I stop reading. So I read for 24 hours but not in 24 hours, so it may take me a few more days. And today I'm going to be using the timer method. I really enjoyed doing it last time, so we're going to do it again this time. As a lot of you guys probably know by now, I am a huge mood reader, so I don't really tend to give myself a very strict TBR that I want to follow in my 24-hour readathons, but I did want to talk about the two books that I am currently in the middle of. So first up we have Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Last Hours trilogy and I am so excited to be reading this. I am loving it so far. I actually just got up to part 2, which is page 370, chapter 15, and I think this book is just under 600 pages, so we're a little over halfway. At this point I think this is going to be like 4 or 5 stars because it is stunning. I will say, if you want to read The Last Hours, I would highly recommend reading The Infernal Devices first, which is another trilogy by Cassandra Clare. There is a huge discussion about all of the Shadowhunters books and the reading order that goes on, so I would recommend doing your research in general because the way I read it may not be the way that you want to read it. But oh my gosh, that terrified me. That was the dishwasher. But as for my personal recommendation, I would definitely read The Infernal Devices before going into The Last Hours, but obviously do what you want. And then for my romance book, I'm currently reading Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese, and this is the first book in the, I don't know how to pronounce it, Bergman or Bergman? I want to say Bergman, but I could be wrong. But it's called the Bergman Brothers and Sisters series, I think, and as far as I'm aware, it is a book series compiled of interconnected standalones, and I think each book centers around a different Bergman brother or sister. So this first book is Ryder's story. He's in college and it's a bit of like a college sports romance, but our FMC Willa, she is the athlete. It's really fun so far. I'm only up to page 115. So far it's good and I'm interested, but it hasn't like fully hooked me yet. I don't feel like I'm super attached to the story or the characters, but obviously my mind can change. I'm only like a third of the way through. So obviously these are the books I'm going to start with. I think for now I'm going to keep reading Chain of Gold because I am just loving it so much and all I want to do is continue this story. So let's start our timer. This is always so satisfying to me. Little reading update. It is now 5:24 p.m. so obviously it's been a few hours since I talked to you last, and this is what the timer is looking like now. We have just under 22 hours left, which means I've only read for like 2 hours. I've just been reading Chain of Gold. I am now up to page 486, so I have pretty much 100 pages to go. I don't think I'm gonna finish this tonight because I have plans tonight. Liam and I are just hanging out at home, having a bit of a date night in, which I'm really excited about, but obviously I'll just be hanging out with him and not reading. But so far I am really enjoying this. I feel like it just feels like a very classic Shadowhunters Cassandra Clare book. They all kind of feel the same, but in a good way. It kind of just feels familiar and like they're all the same vibe, but obviously the characters are different, the storyline is different, the world is the same, but yeah, they still feel different enough to the point where I enjoy them all, but yeah, very much like the same vibe. As for what this book is about, I'm trying to think of a way I can explain it that would make sense. If you don't know what the Shadowhunters books are about, they are YA urban fantasy, which means the world that this takes place in is very much like our world, but just a little bit fantasy. Chain of Gold takes place in London, but like a long time ago, so think kind of Bridgerton vibes, maybe not that old. I don't really know timelines and like history very well, but ball gowns and balls and like not arranged marriages, but like girls kind of getting set up with proper boys and that sort of thing. And I don't know, it all feels just very proper and sophisticated and elegant, I guess. And in this world there are normal humans, but there are also shadow hunters, and shadow hunters basically kill demons to keep the world safe. And this book centers around Cordelia, who is technically a shadow hunter but doesn't really have much experience experience in terms of like actually fighting demons, but her family just moved back to an area where like a lot of shadow hunters live, and now she's kind of just experiencing what it's actually like to be a shadow hunter. And also there are a bunch of demon attacks that are happening to the city, so obviously her and her friends are basically trying to take care of that. So there's a lot of adventure, there's a lot of high stakes, but there's also some romance subplots. I always really love the friendships in Cassandra Clare books. I feel like she does a great job of like found family vibes. I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's just fun. I feel like Shadowhunters books to me just equal adventure, found family, romance, high stakes, fun. I feel like saying that they are demon hunters makes it sound quite like dark and like scary, but it's not. It honestly does not feel scary at all or like dark at all. It just feels more like adventure vibes. I feel like I don't want to say too much more because obviously I think it's more fun to go into a book not really knowing too much about it, but all I'll say is I'm really enjoying it. I definitely have some characters that I really like and also some characters that I'm like, I don't like you, you are so suspicious. So I'm intrigued to see what happens with them. I think I'm going to go and have a shower and get all cozy now, but again, as always, I'll keep you guys updated. Good morning guys, it's now the next day, and last night before I went to sleep I decided to read a little bit more of Chain of Gold, which you guys saw. And I think I said yesterday like, oh, I'll probably read a bit more before bed but probably won't finish it. Well, I did in fact finish it because I don't know why I thought I wouldn't, because I feel like the last 100 pages of a fantasy book are always wild, and so I was laying in bed and I was just like, I cannot stop reading this. So I did end up finishing it and I loved it so much. Like, this book was immaculate. Like, the vibes, perfect. The romance, the adventure, the found family, the character development even. Like, I'm so shocked that the first book of the series already had so much character development for some of the characters. Like, there was this scene at the end of the book where the main character reflected on like what her life was like when the book started, and already like how different her life was and how different she was since that moment. And I was just like, well, that's so true. Like, I feel like the characters even just within the span of this one book already changed so much, but I'm sure there'll be so much character development and so many plot developments as well within the next 2 books as well. I'm really excited to keep reading this series. I don't know if I'm going to continue it in this video because I don't really want this 24-hour readathon to just be a last hours reading vlog, but we'll see. I really have put no effort into how I look yet this morning because I kind of just woke up and started reading. But yeah, phenomenal. I don't know what I'm going to rate it yet. I've been really enjoying letting my thoughts kind of settle on books before giving them an actual rating recently. So I'll probably allow myself to think about it for a day or 2 before I really give it a final rating, but it'll definitely either be 4.5 or 5. Like, this was stunning. But it does feel good to finish our first book of the video. And like I said, this morning I just woke up and did a bit of reading. So I have continued my read of Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese. I just made it to page 200 and right now I'm feeling a little indifferent. Like, it's one of those situations where I feel like this is honestly a very good book, but it might just not be the book for me, like just not my cup of tea. I really, really love slow burns and I'm at page 200 and it's just not feeling like a slow burn. Like, I still have 150 pages left and I'm kind of like, what are you planning to do with that, you know? It's hard because I'm like, I can recognize that this is honestly a really good book, and I also really like the characters, specifically our male main character Ryder. I really like him. I don't know, there's just like nothing that's making me super excited about this book. I don't know if it's just because I've literally just come out of a potential 5-star fantasy book where there's just like so much going on and everything is such high stakes and the romance is just like so angsty and tension filled, and like, you know, when you're just like, you read such a good book, it doesn't matter what you read next, it's just like not going to be as good. And I'm not sure if that's the case with this. It might be, which really sucks. I always feel bad for the book that I read after finishing a really good book because I feel like it just doesn't get the best chance. But like, you have to read something, you know what I mean? Like, there has to be a next book. So I'll obviously keep you guys updated. I might change my mind, but for now it's like, yeah, this is good, it's fine. There's nothing necessarily like super bad about it, or like nothing that I'm like, oh, this sucks, but it's just like, oh yeah, it's fine. I just kind of wish I was reading something that I was like loving, you know? No, this book just gave me such an ick. You know, in movies where there are 2 guys who are about to get into a fight and a girl steps in the middle of the 2 guys and is like, look at me, he's not worth it, he's not worth it, look at me. I hate that. It's just like the ultimate, I can fix him, the world revolves around me, and the main girl just did this in this book. And I know it's not meant to be an ick, like I know it's meant to be like really cute, but it's just such an ick for me. I feel like when you're loving a book, sometimes you could read something that would normally give you a bit of an ick, but you kind of like look past it or don't really think about it because you're loving the book so much or you're loving the characters so much that you don't really mind. But when you don't love a book and you read something like that, you're just like, oh. You know, I just reached page 300 and I think this book is about 360 pages, and you know what? I'm liking it more than I was. It's honestly got some real depth to it, and it already did before, but I don't know. I'm just finding that I am getting more attached to the characters, which is good. Because at the start I was like, oh, I don't know, like it's fine, it's whatever. But now I'm like, yeah, actually, I really like these characters. And there's a lot more than just romance going on, which I do enjoy. I'm still in my pajamas, still haven't got ready for the day, but I did finish this book. And honestly, I think I ended up enjoying it more than I was at the beginning. There were still a few things that I was a bit like, yeah, okay. But there were also a few things that I was like, wow, I really liked that. I think overall, it's probably either a 3 or a 3.5 star read. I honestly enjoyed it a lot. I could see this being like a favorite for some people. I don't think I connected too much with it, but I still enjoyed my reading experience. I would still definitely recommend it to other people. And I honestly might continue the series. I don't think it's going to be a series that I am desperate to continue. Like I'm not going to go out and buy the next few books right now. But yeah, I would consider continuing. Let me know if you've read this series or some of this series, and let me know which ones are your favorite in the series, because I've heard people talk about some of the books and I would love to know like which ones are the favorites. But I'm gonna go put these 2 books on my bookshelf, and we also have to decide what we're going to read next, and I honestly don't really know. This one can go with my green books. Oh, perfect. That's kind of like the perfect spot for it right there. And then obviously Chain of Gold has to go on my Cassie Clare shelf, which is gonna be kind of fully packed. Hopefully there'll be enough room there for Chain of Iron and Chain of Thorns once I read them, but the shelf is definitely filling up. As for my next read, I think I'm actually just going to continue my reread of ACOTAR, because I honestly haven't touched this in a while, which doesn't really matter too much because it's a reread, so I can kind of just like pick it up and put it down whenever I feel like it, and I don't feel like I need to be, like I'm not going to forget things or anything like that. Like it's more of a chill reread, you know what I mean? Sitting in this exact spot for, I actually don't know how long, probably almost 2 hours, just rereading ACOTAR, and I wasn't intending to sit down here for like 2 hours, but I just didn't want to stop reading because it's just so good. Every time I pick up these books to do my rereads, I'm always just like, wow, it feels so good to be back. Like I don't know why I keep forgetting how good this is until I pick it up, and then I'm like, oh, so good. And I also think rereading this book specifically, it's so much better the second time around, because I feel like you just pick up on so many details that you don't pick up the first time, because there's a lot of information in this book that helps obviously set up the next couple books in the ACOTAR series, but also once you've read all the books that Sarah J Maas has written and you know that there's just like a lot more going on than you originally thought, it makes you see things a little bit differently. And I feel like a few of the things that have been discussed in this book specifically, I'm just like, wait, I feel like there are some parallels here. I need to do some research and like look up some TikToks and stuff of people who talk about all the theories, because there are some wildly intelligent people out there that have made some crazy comparisons and theories and things like that. But I don't know, I'm just really enjoying this. I obviously can't really talk much about the actual plot or even just like the specifics of what I'm finding so fascinating, because they're all spoilers if you haven't read the series. But obviously I've been tabbing like crazy. I've been highlighting and writing notes and stuff, and I actually just made it to the halfway mark, so that's why I decided to stop there, maybe step outside for a sec, get some fresh air, because I have spent a lot of the day just sitting down reading, which I'm not complaining, but I just need to like touch some grass or something, you know? Good morning guys, it's now the next day, it's Monday. Yesterday afternoon I was violently attacked by my own body, aka I got my period and I ended up on the couch all afternoon and evening. Just girly things. Sometimes my period is painful, sometimes it's not. And this month it is, which is super fun, love that. But I need to give you a reading update because I did get quite a bit of reading done yesterday. Also, if you're wondering what this is, it's my heat pack. Okay, so on the timer we are down to 14 hours and 43 minutes, which I feel like is pretty good because yesterday we started the timer at 20 hours and 35 minutes, I think. We finished Only When It Starts by Chloe Leese. I also read and annotated a chunk of ACOTAR, but yesterday afternoon I decided to start When in Rome by Sarah Adams, and this is so fun so far. So I got up to page 125, chapter 15, and I think this book is almost exactly 300 pages, so I am just under the halfway mark, and I think this will be my main priority for this morning. Honestly, my main plan for today is just to read as much as possible. It is 7 a.m. I haven't started reading yet. I have also put my phone in the other room and I'm gonna try really hard to not really touch TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, that sort of thing today because obviously I get distracted. That takes up a lot of my time. And today, if I really focus, I can get so many hours done because I don't have that many other plans. And I don't want this 24-hour readathon to go for like a week. So I'd love to get like maybe 6 hours of reading done today, maybe more. I honestly don't know. I think we'll definitely finish this. I think we could definitely also get another chunk of ACOTAR done, and then I guess we'll start something else, but I don't really know what I'm feeling like yet. But let's start the timer. This book literally has me like giggling, kicking my feet, like this is so cute. I'm obsessed. It's now 9 a.m. I pretty much haven't moved, but I have been reading more of this. I'm now at page 217, so I have less than 100 pages to go. And guys, I am actually obsessed with this. Like, I'm so shocked at how much I'm loving it. I knew that I would enjoy it, or like I thought I would enjoy it, but I'm actually shocked at how much I'm enjoying it. Like, I think this might be 5 stars because I just can't stop giggling. I feel like it is the perfect rom-com. It has me swooning over this freaking baker man. Like, Noah, he's so sweet, but he's still kind of like broody and quiet, and it's just like, it's actually perfect. And I'm very intrigued to see how the last 100 pages goes, but I don't know, it's really giving me that 5-star feel. It really is. Like, look at my face. That's how you know it's so good. Also, I've been annotating a little bit. I feel like it's kind of hard to see. I've got a few tabs in there. I'm writing little notes, I'm underlining things, and that's another sign you know it's good, because I don't annotate every book, only when it like really stands out to me, like when I feel like I really want to underline and tab and stuff. Oh, guys, it's so cute. I think if you like movies like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and 50 First Dates and Suddenly 30, those really just fun, silly rom-coms, but they still have depth. They still have such a good love story. I feel like you'd love this. And now I'm like, do I go straight into the second one? Like, do I go straight into Practice Makes Perfect? Because I know, I'm pretty sure it's set in the same town. I know which characters it follows. And like, I kind of want to go straight into it, but then I'm like, oh, should I read something different? Like, it's so good. I love it. I have some updates. First of all, we have just made it past the halfway mark of our timer. We now have under 12 hours to go, but it has taken me 3 days to get this far. So I always forget how long it takes when you use a timer method. But also, I am having so much fun. I always think it's gonna take me like 2 or 3 days, but I'm not reading for 12 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like, actually reading for 12 hours a day. The other update that I have is I finished When in Rome, and This was so good. This is just the perfect rom-com in my opinion. It was just so well done. I loved the characters, I loved the plot, I loved all of the little like townspeople. Did I even tell you what this book is about? I don't think I did. Okay, the basic premise of this is our female main character Amelia is a pop star, a famous singer, and she is just really overworked and overwhelmed with what her life is right now. She's about to go on tour. I think it's like a month before she goes on tour, and she's like, I am so done with just my life right now. It is just too much to handle. Everyone just like wanting to know my business and being famous and trying to do all these rehearsals for tour. It's a lot. And so she decides to drive to Rome, Kentucky, which is a small town in Kentucky apparently. And she almost makes it, but then her car breaks down outside of this guy's house, and he comes out and he's like, hey, do you need some help? And that's kind of like their meet cute. And because he's such a nice guy, he offers for her to stay in his guest bedroom overnight until she can kind of like get herself sorted, because it's the middle of the night and the mechanic isn't open, there's no accommodation open. So he's like, please don't stay in your car all night, it is the middle of summer, like you're gonna overheat, come stay in my guest bedroom. And she's like, I am hoping and praying that you're not a serial killer. And so she does. And that's kind of just like where the story starts. Her plan is just to take a bit of a vacation, I guess, and just have a breather from her life. And she decided to do that in a small town where she can kind of just live a really simple and slower lifestyle. And obviously while she's there, she really gets to know all of the people who live there, and they're all just so sweet and so cute. And I just loved all of the characters in this book so much. I feel like my only critiques are that I feel like some people could see it as a bit of insta love, because it is a pretty short time frame in which like all of this story happens, but also it didn't feel like a short time when you're reading it. Like I kept being like, wait, that thing that they mentioned only happened yesterday? That's crazy. It feels like it's been a week since then. So it didn't feel like insta love for me, but I could see how that might be a bit of an issue potentially. And the only other thing that I noticed was the end, like part of the conflict kind of was resolved a little bit too quickly for me. There was an issue with some certain relationships in her life that were a little bit difficult, I guess. And I feel like that could have been drawn out a little bit longer, and just like it could have been more in depth in terms of how it was resolved. And I feel like it was just kind of like, oh, it's all fixed now. And it was kind of like, oh, I wish that had been a bit more of the story, I guess. But also in saying that, I wasn't really too concerned about it. It was just a bit like, oh, that could have been done better, but I didn't really give it much more thought than that. And also the fact that I was this attached to the characters and the storyline and like this invested in the story, and it's literally 308 pages, that is shocking to me. Like I don't know how Sarah Adams managed to get me to feel the way that I felt about the people in the storyline and whatever in 308 pages. Because tell me why some romance books need 500 plus pages and I still don't feel this way. Just extremely impressed, and I already can't wait to pick up Practice Makes Perfect. I think I'm gonna have a bit of a break and read something else in between, or maybe a couple other things in between, because I don't want them to mesh too much. If you don't know, Practice Makes Perfect is the companion novel to this, and I think it centers around our male main character Noah, his little sister Annie, and I'm so excited because she was super cute in this book. But yeah, I think I might go into a bit more of ACOTAR, and hopefully we can get this timer down a little bit more. If I'm rereading a book, you best believe I will be cracking the spine. Otherwise, I try and keep them pretty intact. I don't really love to crack them. But yeah, if it's a reread, you best believe it's getting cracked, because I need ultimate comfort. And especially if I know I'm gonna reread it again in future. I tried to move my clothes out of the shot and they're still in it, so that didn't work. But more importantly, book update. I just got to chapter 55, which is page 503. So we reached the 500 page mark, and I think this book is roughly 700 pages, so we only have 200 pages left to go. And I feel like it's always nice when you feel like you're heading towards the end, but what's even more fun is the last 200 or sometimes 100. The last 100 to 200 pages in Sarah J Maas books are usually insane, so I'm excited to read the rest of these, but I don't know if I'm gonna take a break from this for a sec and start something new potentially. Doing an ACOTAR reread has just like really reminded me how much I love this series, and also I've just been so shocked at how much I've been enjoying my reread, because obviously I know everything that's gonna happen, but still I feel like I'm learning so many new things. I feel like I'm understanding all of the characters so much better. It just feels really comforting, which is funny because it's such a high stakes fantasy, like they're literally in the middle of a war, but I'm just like, oh, so comforting. But like the characters are so comforting. And I also feel like as an anxious girly, doing rereads is just such a nice experience because you already know what to expect. Like there's no anxiety that's gonna come out of these books, I don't think, because yeah, it just feels so familiar. It's almost like rewatching your favorite comfort TV show. It never really makes you anxious or worried because you already know what's gonna happen. So I'm just really enjoying this. I am a little bit sad though because I definitely think the second and third book are my favorite, but the fifth book I feel a bit conflicted with because there are parts of it that I really enjoyed, but overall it's definitely not as much of a favorite. So I don't even know if I want to do a reread or not. I honestly don't know. We'll have to wait and see how I feel. I think I'll definitely do the novella. I feel bad because I know Silver Flames is a favorite for so many people and I really wish I loved it as much as you guys did. I do, but, and don't get me wrong, I don't dislike it. There are just like parts of it that I don't like. There are some parts that I really love. But anyway, I'm just rambling now. I think I want to take a break from this because I've been reading it for the past like 2 hours. Maybe start a new romance. Let's have a look. We just passed the 10-hour mark on our timer as well, so that's really exciting. I wonder what we can finish in 10 hours. Like, can we finish ACOTAR plus something else? Potentially. I am heavily considering reading Heartless. This is the second book in the Chestnut Spring series. The first book is Flawless. They're cowboy romances. I'm pretty sure this is like a single dad trope. It sounds so good, and this is on my May TBR, so I feel like I should pick it up. But also, after finishing When in Rome and enjoying it so much, part of me really wants to pick up Practice Makes Perfect. It literally looks so cute. I'm so excited to pick it up. And then actually the other one that I'm really heavily considering is Love Theoretically by Ellie Hazelwood. I also feel like this is going to be so good. I don't know. I think I'm going to start Heartless because it's on my TBR and I'm going to see if I'm vibing it, and if I'm not, I'll switch out, but I'm going to give it a shot. It's now 8:30. I'm gonna do my final check-in for the night. I am gonna go to bed and read a little bit more, so I don't know exactly what I'll get up to. But since I last spoke to you, I did end up starting Heartless, and I'm at page 200 now, I think. Chapter 16, page 203. So a little under halfway, actually. I think it's about 470 pages. Yeah, and I'm enjoying this so far. It's a lot of fun. I feel like these books are the perfect vibe, full of banter, just like cowboy fun, and also just so quick to read. Like I can read 10 pages and it feels like I've read 2, and I love books like that. So this is a very easy read and I'm enjoying it so far. I don't know if I'm enjoying it more than Flawless, probably around the same at this point, but we'll see. It definitely doesn't feel like a slow burn, and you guys know that I love a slow burn, so I don't think it's gonna be 5 stars because I'm not getting the vibe. But I am having a lot of fun with it, so I'm gonna obviously keep reading this probably tomorrow. I don't think I'll read any more of this tonight because I think I'm gonna keep doing my reread of ACOTAR. I also have just been reading this for the past like hour or so, I guess, and I'm almost at page 600, so I have like 100 pages to go. And as for the timer, we have just over 6 hours to go, so I'm gonna probably go read for another half an hour, maybe a full hour, depending on how tired I get or like how quickly I get tired. But I will update you guys tomorrow. The lighting. Okay, we're all good. Are we up to day 4 of this video? I think we're up to day 4. I was so determined to not let this video go for a week. It's looking like it's gonna go for a week. Anyway, yesterday I didn't leave the house at all, which honestly I'm not complaining about. I love not leaving the house, but also I was like, Rachel, we need to leave the house, get some sun, touch some grass. So today I've driven to a park and I'm gonna read from the park for a while. I also made myself a little coffee at home, brought it in my keep cup, wildflower keep cup, literally the best ever. And I'm gonna read here for a while. And then we might go to the library to drop off some returns on the way home. We'll see how we're feeling, but it is such a beautiful day. I was like, I need to go outside, even if I'm just doing the same thing outside that I would usually do inside. Let's go! The only sucky thing about doing this readathon in public is that I had to bring my iPad with me because obviously the timer is on my iPad. We are down to 4 hours. Sorry about all the birds. I feel like they're so loud, but we are down to 4 hours and 47 minutes on our countdown, and I am going to continue reading Heartless. I haven't read anything yet today, and it's like 11. It is such a perfect day. Like, this weather is stunning. Like, welcome to winter in Brisbane. This is my happy place. Right now it doesn't even matter. It's too late now. I know the lighting is not amazing, but I think I'm going to stop reading for now. I just got to chapter 25, which is page 320. We're definitely over halfway, but I think I'm gonna go to the library now, make my returns, and I might also sit there and do some reading as well because I'm still in a huge reading mood. Good morning, guys. Welcome to day 5. Yep. But in saying that, I am almost certain that this is going to be the last day, because on the timer we have 1 hour and 21 minutes left, and it is like 7 a.m. And some other good news is that I've finished 2 more books since I talked to you last, which technically one of these I finished like over 24 hours ago, and then I just like forgot to tell you about it. But I finished ACOTAR not last night but the night before. I just stayed up reading the last little bit of it, and this is the most satisfying thing ever to see all of the annotations. I love it so much. I just think it looks so beautiful. I swear half the reason I like annotating is just because it looks so beautiful, and I just think it's so satisfying. But I finished this, and of course it was amazing. I feel like I don't even have to really say much. You guys know that I love this series. I love this book. I do think I rated this 4.75 last time I read it, and I definitely think it's a 5-star this time. So that's probably the only update I have to give you, but this was stunning. And then obviously yesterday you saw me reading Heartless, and I finished this yesterday evening as well. And to be honest, I don't really know how to feel about this book. I feel like I've heard a lot of people say that this is their favorite, and I didn't dislike it, but I don't know. I am so conflicted because there are parts of this book that I loved. The whole cowboy vibe, like being on the ranch and like doing all the cowboy things, I loved. And also, if you don't know the plot of this book, it follows Cade and Willa. Cade is one of the brothers that this series follows, and he's a single dad and he works on the ranch. And his son Luke is 5 years old, and it's summer. Cade needs someone to help him look after Luke because he's on the ranch all day. So he hires Willa as the nanny, and that's the other part of this book that I really enjoyed. I love kids in books, especially because I read in the author's note that Luke is the same age as the author's son, I think. Yeah, in the acknowledgements it says, "I think that writing a book about a little boy the same age as my own will always hold a special place in my heart." And because of that, I feel like she did such a great job in like representing a 5-year-old realistically. And I feel like the kid Luke was just so funny, and he just added so much like sunshine to this book. I loved it, and I just loved seeing him hang out with Willa, the nanny, and just like their relationship was so beautiful. But there were also a lot of parts of this book that I just wasn't a huge fan of. There were some tropes that I'm not a huge fan of. They're just like not my personal favorite. It's again one of those books where it's like I can see that this is a good book, but it might just not be the book for me. But it's so hard when you enjoyed some bits so much, but then there were also parts that you just didn't really like. Like, what do you rate it? I'm leaning towards like a 3.75 or a 4. I rated Flawless 4, and I feel like, I don't know, I don't think I enjoyed this more than Flawless, but I don't know if I enjoyed it less. Like, part of me is like, maybe it was also 4 stars, but I also feel like maybe I enjoyed Flawless more. Yeah, overall, I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't love it, but I loved the vibes that it gave. I also always love Elsie Silver's writing. I feel like it's just so easy to read, but I don't know. I feel like that's all I have to say about that one. And then last night I decided to pick up ACOTAR Frost and Starlight as my final book of this little 24-hour readathon. I don't know if I'll even finish this within the 24 hours. It's only like 230 pages, I think, so it's pretty quick, but I also don't think I can finish 200 pages in an hour and a half, especially because I also want to annotate this one. But last night I only got 30 pages in. So that's kind of my reading update with this. I'm sure I will update you guys probably just like when I'm done. The 24 hours is officially up, and I actually just reached page 100, so perfect timing. I'm actually at like one of my favorite scenes in this book, which I can't really tell you about in case I spoil something, but let's just say some characters are decorating and they may have had a few too many drinks. It's just such a cute scene. Wow. 5 days, 24 hours of reading. We got a lot of reading done. I wanted to sit and give you guys one final reading update now that our 24-hour readathon is over. So I am going to go through some stats. I know that some people don't like stats because they say that it makes reading like not fun. And I understand what you're saying because reading just is for fun. But I also am just such a curious person, and I think stats are fascinating. So I don't think they're necessarily important or necessary, but I thought I'd share the ones that I came up with you guys in case you're as curious and as nosy as I am. So So to quickly go over the books that we read during this video, we started off with Chain of Thorns, which I had started prior to this challenge, but I absolutely loved it. I think either 4.5 or 5 stars, I'm still not exactly sure, but a stunning read. After that, I finished Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese, and I enjoyed it. It was probably like a 3-star read for me. Good, but not fantastic. And that was also one that I had started previously to this challenge. I also finished A Court of Wings and Ruin, which I had also started previously to this challenge, but that was a reread and a definite 5-star for me. Then I picked up When in Rome, and honestly, I think that's one of my new favorite books. I had so much fun reading that, an easy 5 stars. Next, I picked up Heartless by Elsie Silver, and I had fun, but I don't think it was like a favorite for me. And lastly, I started my reread of A Court of Frost and Starlight, and I only got 100 pages into that one, so we didn't finish that one. So those are all the books that I picked up at some point during this readathon, but I also thought it would be interesting to go back and calculate exactly how much time I spent reading and also how many pages I read each day. So on day 1, I read for 3 hours and 25 minutes and I completed 220 pages. On day 2, I read for 5 hours and 52 minutes and I read 510 pages. Day 3 was by far my biggest reading day. I read for 9 hours and 56 minutes, which I had to go back and check this like 3 times because I was like, surely I didn't read that much on that day, but apparently I did. I'm just shocked at that. I literally thought my biggest reading day would be like 6 hours, so 10 hours is wild. But I only read 733 pages, which I thought was really interesting because the day before I read 510 pages in basically half the amount of time. But I think the main reason why my reading was a lot slower on this day was because that was when I did most of my ACOTAR reread, and I was heavily annotating that, like writing notes, highlighting, underlining, putting tabs in. And so of course that's going to take me a little bit longer than just like reading a page and moving on. But I also have so much fun doing rereads, so I'm not mad at that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with a slower reading pace, but I just wanted to point it out to you guys. My reading pace changes so much depending on what I'm reading and also if I'm annotating or not, and even just like the mood I'm in. Sometimes I'm just reading fast and sometimes I'm not, and that's okay. Anyways, back to the stats. On day 4, I read for 3 hours and 26 minutes and I read 300 pages. And on day 5, I read for an hour and 21 minutes because that was the last bit of my timer. And I actually only read 70 pages, but again, heavily annotating, so not mad at it. So that means in total, I read 1,763 pages in 24 hours, which I am very happy with. And I actually worked it out because I track on Notion how many pages I read a month. And for the past few months, I've been reading roughly around 7,000 pages a month, which means in this 24 hours, I read 25% roughly of my normal monthly pages. How crazy is that? Very interesting to me. Again, not necessarily important for anything, but just interesting. For those of you who don't know, I have a psychology degree and a lot of studying psychology is statistics, so I find this stuff very interesting. But whether you like stats or not, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I had so much fun. I honestly just love 24-hour readathons so much because I just get to read and talk to you guys about books, and that's like my favorite thing in the world. And I feel like I often get so lucky during my 24-hour readathons to read really good books, because looking back, we had pretty much 3 5-star reads in this video, which is insane because up until this point, I haven't had any 5-star reads this month. And then I've had 3 in this 24-hour readathon. Like, that is crazy. I guess one of them was a reread, but still. Anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling now. I hope you guys have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you guys in my next video very soon. Goodbye.